morning, good morning.
All right, guys, what's today?
It's time to talk antiques. It's Wednesday. And we're going to have a pretty interesting show today. We're going to talk about advertising, history of advertising, paper advertising. You've got some interesting facts about radio and TV.
Some of the first ads, when they were.
We're going to talk about
I ran
that.
into KK's up there this morning. He had a bunch of signs and things, Coca-Cola signs. I said, boy, David loves to see some of this.
What did he say?
He said, I guess he would like to see them.
He didn't want to
He
get
didn't.
any
He
of them?
didn't. Well, he said something about giving them. I said, well, I'll take them on. He said, well, that'd be $300 cash. I had to walk off in.
Hey, and I promise you that KK didn't stutter a bit when he said
Not at
300
all.
cash, did he?
Didn't even blink an eye.
And you're talking about the old man?
Yes.
Yes, sir. He knows his stuff.
Yes, he does.
He's a good guy.
Well, he gives you a lot of credit too, Dave.
Well,
he does.
He's a good man.
Well,
Well, let's get started.
let's go. I
You're
didn't-
burning. You're burning time.
I didn't know if you had something you was fixing to say or not. So, okay, we're going to talk about, like I said, advertising. So, the social history preserved in advertisements, it's like an archaeological record. It's not a simple, faithful chronology of society, but it's an assortment of bits and pieces on which the passage of social life is inscribed by their very nature. Advertisements are fleeting and ethereal. Once they serve their intended purpose, they're typically just threw away. But some ads survive, preserved in old newspapers and magazines, on wire or tape recordings, and in videotapes. And these preserved advertisements, they can be studied in the present for what they reveal about our collective past. From them, we learn not only about the techniques of the past advertising, but also about the society that produced them and the lives of the people that wrote, read, and heard the messages. And advertisement, there's too many categories to put them all together. I mean, there's so many. So what we done is I broke it down into a few categories, and I thought we could talk about. And the first one is breweries, which includes any type of beer collectibles related to breweries and beer. Beer collectibles, they've always been popular, and there's with the recent boom in microbreweries and a new generation of people finding out of the different types of beer memorabilia. According to some of the original beer brands, they're being reintroduced, which is creating an interest in the history of beer. The breweries that once made them and their original advertising. Okay, 1953, well, let's just go here. Some of the most popular types of collectibles are beer trays, corner signs, reverse on glass signs, and tin over cardboard signs. Other Breweriana collectibles include etched glass, tap knobs, lithograph posters, clocks, beer cans, and bottles. And collectors sometimes focus on a geographical area and a particular brand or style.
Hey, I'm going to stop you just a minute. I'm going to
Okay.
read you this little clip here. I went to Google, which is another one of our favorite sites.
Right.
And it said the first historical mention of the use of hops in beer was from 1822 AD in a monastery. And it was, rules written by one of the, I guess, monks. Now, 1822 AD, is that, Philip, is that
822 or
822?
822. Okay.
That's a little while, isn't it?
That's been a few years.
Back a year or two, anyway.
What's the math on that, Philip?
1200-ish.
1200. So 1200 years ago, they was actually talking about it.
Well, talking about it's a kind of advertising, word of mouth.
Yes, sir. That is a form.
Some of the best.
Some particular brands, they included Anheuser-Busch, Falstaff, Hams, Pabst, Schlitz, Jacob Rupert. I'd never heard of Jacob Rupert till I.
No, we're talking mostly just American breweries. Sounds like it so far.
Yeah, we have some other stuff on down the way
Yeah.
here, but right now we're talking about mostly American breweries in areas in the country. I said Jacob Rupert, Kruger, Mayer, Frank Furr, These are just individuals. I guess they put their names on the cans. August Shell, W.M. J. Limp, and smaller regional companies such as American Brewing Company, Gristic Brothers, Hyde Park, and Columbia Brewing Company. Now, Brewing items that typically command the highest value, I found, were produced prior to Prohibition that started in 1919. And these items can be worth several $1,000s or more, when they're in good condition. Vintage advertising signs from the 1870s to 1950, some of the most desirable types of Breweriana advertising were corner signs, reverse on glass signs, and lithograph, with early brewery factory scenes on the lithographs. Okay, corner signs were commonly made from tin, porcelain, brass, and a glass called vitrolite. Do you know anything about vitrolite? I mean, neither. The corner signs were placed outside the local saloons, and they were plentiful in the early 1900s, as revealed in old photographs. To find these signs today are rare, which makes them very valuable. An example of corner signs is from the Bluff City Brewing Company in Alton, Illinois, depicting the company's logo. These corner signs, they're typically worth thousands of dollars when they're in good conditions. Most of them that I saw were thousands of dollars. Reverse on glass signs are signs that incorporate a process of putting advertising on the back side of glass, and they're considered rare and valuable due to breakage of glass over the years. Because
In 1607, Ronnie, the first shipment of beer arrives in the Virginia colony from England.
from England,
Let's see what.
when did we start producing our own, does it say?
Well, I'm looking here. Go ahead, and I'll break in when I find something that's unique here.
Okay, we were talking about the reverse on glass signs, and they're valuable because the glass breaks and the paint can peel off the backs of them due to moisture and heat. And many of the pre-prohibition signs were reverse on glass.
Okay, Ronnie, that question you asked me. Here's one that was it was in off of Market Field on Manhattan Island. Everybody knows where Manhattan Island is. 1633.
1633, that's been a long time ago. That was before we were in the country. That must have been the Pilgrims making them some beer.
1754. George Washington enters a beer recipe in his notebook.
Now,
So George Washington must own some breweries too, then.
he also made whiskey. I found he had a big distillery on his estate.
You mean the father of our country carried on like that?
Part of our country loved it.
He must have made liquor.
Yes, he did, and beer.
A lot of people brewed their own beer back then.
Yeah, where were we going to get it,
Oh, listen to this. It said the Revolutionary War measures by Congress included rationing to each soldier 1 quart of spruce beer or cider per man per day.
So they got a quart a day.
Rations.
Yeah, that's rationed out to them.
That's quite a bit, isn't it?
No wonder
A quart.
George Washington was the general.
Yeah, he probably furnished the beer. Wouldn't bring your own beer. We were talking about.
Oh, one more thing
What
here.
do you got?
George Washington presents his Buy American policy, and indicating he will only drink porter made, which is beer, in America.
And he's not going to drink it anywhere else.
Yeah, and that was 1789.
That's been a while.
Yeah, we always got this big thing going about buying local. Well, he's about buying in America.
Yeah.
This is after the Revolutionary War.
Well, we had 13 colonies, so the way they were spaced out was kind of local, wasn't it? Wasn't from Britain.
Rare. Okay, what is that?
It's one beer can.
Golly, 1 beer can here, Ronnie, and it brought $3,550.
Ryan King beer.
Ryan King beer.
Ryan King beer.
Yeah, good gosh.
That's a lot of money for 1 can of beer. Did it have anything in it?
It looks like it's close.
Let's see, in 1810, Ronnie, there was 132 operating breweries that produced 185,000 barrels of beer. Population of the country is 7 million.
7 million, 185,000 barrels. Or was that per what? Did it say?
So that must be per year.
Yeah,
It don't say per month or per day,
yeah.
but that's a
I'd
lot of.
say it is per
That's
year.
a lot of beer. Philip, 7 million people and 185,000 barrels. How much?
Do the math real
Come on,
quick.
Phil. That's what a good production man's all about.
Yeah, you got the calculator.
Yeah, so many people. Give me a minute.
All right.
All right, well, we'll give you a minute to do it. It's 185,000 barrels. What do you got? 3 minutes? I thought you meant 3 per. Okay.
I ain't that quick.
I thought you had the answer.
I'm not that quick.
All right.
Let's see here. Ooh, in 1850, 431 breweries, and they produced 750,000 of beer. 31 gallons per barrel. The population is 23 million. So as you can see,
As the population climbs, we need more beer.
yeah, well, evidently they've seen that they're getting a lot of beer, so they need to figure out a way to sell it, and that's how this advertisement.
Exactly.
You go ahead now.
We were talking about the types of signs. We have 10 over cardboard signs. We were talking about reverse on glass to begin with. We're going to talk about 10 on cardboard signs. They've always been one of the most collected types of signs in the brewery world. So 10 on cardboard signs, they were used both before Prohibition and heavily again afterwards until the 1960s. A celluloid cover was sometimes placed over the tin advertising.
I have some of those signs.
You have some of those? You know,
10 over cardboard.
looks like the cardboard would rot over the years.
Well, it won't if you keep it dry and inside, you know.
They'd have to be kept well
Of course,
kept.
with moisture, you know, even the tin would rust.
Yeah.
So, but I have some that that the cardboard is still in good shape, but the tin's rusted. So what happened probably, the cardboard was like a rag or something. It got wet and held that moisture,
Yeah.
and it rusted the tin part.
Well, sometimes they put a celluloid cover over them, over the tin advertising
Yeah.
as a way to protect them, you know, from.
But it wouldn't protect the backside.
No, They were eventually replaced with signs made strictly from cardboard because, you know, they were cheaper to make, easy to put up, and they could be thrown out when the sign was worn, you know, because of the weather.
What year was that?
After the 1960s.
Well, let me tell you something. In the early 1900s, they come up with cardboard signs, and they put this like paraffin, you know, like a candle wax on them.
Yeah.
And they called them weatherized signs.
Well, that would protect them.
Yeah, it would. And so I know in there, I've got an example of those too in my collection of some of the early weatherized signs. That's what they called them.
Till, yeah, you know, unless it got
So they're nothing but cardboard with wax on them.
yeah. And they'd have to get pretty hot to melt the wax.
Yeah.
Okay, beer trays. They originated in the late 1890s, and they're very popular collectibles today. Most of the beer trays, they were lithograph designs on tin depicting the company's logo or other images. Some trays were also made out of brass or porcelain. Most trays were circular or rectangular or oval, and of course they were used by the servers, you know, to carry beer to the patrons. Popular brands of these trays to collect are Budweiser, Miller, Pabst, and ABC Brewing. Tip trays, you remember the little tip trays?
Yeah,
you know, you put the
they're a
tips-
lot smaller.
Yeah, they also generate a little bit of interest. They were smaller, about 3 or 4 inches in diameter.
Okay. I've gone to, I went to our other buddy that we always use, and when I get to it, I've got regular auction, but I'm going to do the sold auction when I can get this thing to do it.
Okay,
I'll let you know what some of them's been bringing.
that'd be nice to know because, you know, it looks like there'd be some of them around.
Oh, here we go. Anheuser-Busch. Here's a tray. Now I'm not going to read the description, but it's a round tray. And it's got the big A with the eagle in the middle of it. $3,400 with 35 bits. So it has to be an older tray. Here's a beautiful oval pre-production porcelain beer tray East Buffalo Brewing Company, Buffalo, New York, and it's round. And like they said, it's got porcelain.
That's a good looking tray there.
Yeah, it's really nice. And of course, with that porcelain protection, until you crack it, you know, it's
gonna be there.
It's going to be there. $1,881.89 with 46 bids. Okay, here's the one that Pabst Brewing out of Milwaukee. It's an oval, like you was talking about. $1,568.54 with 42 bids.
That's a lot of interest.
Yeah, let me see here. Here's one. Let's see what it says. It says A Pretty Girl on a Horse, and it's a brewery company. And of course, we're going to take a break after I give you this one here. 13 bids on it. Now this is a round tray, and it's really a good looking tray. Got
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
is.
color. 1302.77. With that, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll look at a few more of these trays.
All right.
John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Madeline's Antiques and Uniques at 6107 Murfreesboro Road in Manchester has been helping collectors find just the right thing since 2008. With 40 quality dealers and a constantly changing inventory of collectibles from the 1800s to the present, they have many unique items in the store and new things coming in daily. Are you looking for the perfect lamp or clock to finish your collection? A vintage lunchbox from your childhood? Well, you can find that plus any number of other unique items in their huge building. With their easy access off I-24, they meet many travelers from around the world and just around the corner that come to buy and sell antiques, or just to stop and have a free cup of coffee and a cookie while browsing around the store. Come visit owner Madeline Kemp and travel back in time at Madeline's Antiques and Uniques. So many memories.
Okay, we're back, and we was talking about some of these beer trays. Here's an interesting beer tray that's sold. It's it depicts an Indian chief, and it's at Oshkosh. The brewery is $1,175 and 19 bids. Here's a nice one. It's a train with like a train depot, and of course the brewery's right there behind it.
Right.
And it brought $921.11.
A lot of interest in it. That's one
Here's
of those
a rectangle, like
breweries.
Philip was talking about, like the Coca-Cola trays.
Right.
And it's got a picture of a bear on it, and says Los Angeles Graphic Old Beer Tray, red ribbon, 605.65, 12 bids. And here's one with a lady. Now Coca-Cola used a lot of ladies in their trays, and they're highly collectible.
Right.
So here's one with a lady in a beer tray out of New Jersey. The brewery was $576.76. And let me see. Let me give you one more here. Here's the San Francisco Brewery Company, and it's got a like a soldier, and he's riding a horse and holding a beer bottle. Okay, $560. So we'll stop there.
Okay, well, while we were gone, we were also talking about the beer trays. They're not being as many as the Coca-Cola trays, and they're being a lot a lot more variety because of all the microbreweries and stuff in the geographical locations we were talking about earlier. And one reason that the brewery collectibles are so popular is that the beer is a favorite beverage of many and has been around so long. And it's not known when beer originated, but most likely it came along when the cereal agriculture was developed about 12,000 years ago. In the United States, the popularity of ales and lagers was at its peak just before Prohibition, when there were over 1,300 breweries were established. Okay, the beer industry dramatically changed during the national prohibition from 1920 to 1933.
With that, Lonnie, let me stop you here. You know, the beer can itself is a nice advertisement.
Yes,
You know,
of course
to sell
it is.
your product at point of sale is to have something different. That's why, you know, anybody can tell you what color. If you asked 100 people, they can tell you what color a Coca-Cola is. It's red and white, you know.
It stands out
Oh, yeah.
in the cases.
Okay, so here's some completed auctions on just beer cans. And we already talked about the one Philip's talking about, the $3,500 one. But here's another one, Pilgrim Ale. And it's from Croft Brewing. And it brought $2,800. Now, we're talking about a beer can.
One can of beer.
Yeah. Well, empty can.
Yeah, not even any beer in it.
33 bids on that. And then here's another one. And, of course, it's a rare beer company. $2,795. Here's one that actually is called Clipper Pale. Not ale, but pale.
Never heard of that.
It's a flat top beer can. Brought $2,276. It's a picture of a blue sky, and on the bottom of it says, of course, it does say the Clipper Pale in the blue sky, and it's got a plane. It's got a plane flying, a 4-engine plane, and then at the bottom it says beer.
That's what the Clippers for the.
And now that one right there, just that one can, brought $2,276 with 34 bids.
It'd be kind of hard to get a 6-pack of that, wouldn't it?
Here's one it's got a ram on it. It brought $2,125 with 26 bids. I'm trying to pick out some unique ones. Now here, these are called cone top. Any guy that deals with cars remembers the old brake fluid cans that had the screw-on lid, and that was a cone top. Well, also they used that same type of can for sodas and beer, and they're really rare. Here's a cone top, a Scotch Highland cone top beer can, 33 bids, $1,525.
Good Lord.
And now this is a screw-on lid,
Yeah.
okay?
That's before they had pull tops, I guess.
Here, let's see if I can. Here's a couple more cone top. Here's one with a cone top beer. It's got a picture of a horseshoe with a horse in the middle of it, like a racehorse. Okay, $1,500.
Good Lord.
And it says empty in parentheses.
Yeah, of course it's in.
So you know. That alone is really a good advertisement. The cans themselves. So, with that, here's one that's kind of unique. Playmate malt liquor beer can. And it's got a picture of a lady's eye and an eyebrow and her lips, and then in the center of it says Playmate malt liquor. How much you think that brought? $1,046.
That's a
for
lot
a
of
can.
money.
Yeah. So a
can of
person
beer.
could invest a whole lot of money just in collecting the cans and the signs and the trays.
Right.
We hadn't even looked at any signs, but you go ahead and talk a little
Try to
bit,
get
and
a
I'll look at.
6-pack of cans and a tray to serve them off of and see what that costs.
Yeah, go ahead and I'll look up some signs that have been sold.
Okay, we were talking about how the beer industry dramatically changed during Prohibition, which was from the 1920 to 1933, and beer was labeled as intoxicating liquor by the government, making it illegal to make, transport, or sell beer. Brewers were only allowed to make near beer, or beer with less than half of 1% alcohol content. And that's not much, is it?
No.
A few of the most widely known near beer brands were Bevo, produced by Anheuser-Busch, Pablo.
This
by
is during
Pabst.
Prohibition?
This was during Prohibition. 1/2 of 1% they could make. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Until I was reading through this. Vivo by Miller. And, well, they got to do something, to make it through Prohibition.
Yeah.
They had to do something.
Well, we got about 2 minutes here, and go ahead, and when you finish up, when we come back on the other side, I'll give you some beer sign prices.
Okay, well, we've only got a couple more. We've got, one more. Famo by Schlitz. So you've got your big name brewery still there. You had Anheuser-Busch, you had Pabst, you had Miller, and Schlitz.
And they all operated during Prohibition.
I
They
guess that's
still
how they made it
able
through.
to hang on. All right, with that, let's take a break, and we'll be back.
John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Madeline's Antiques and Uniques at 6107 Murfreesboro Road in Manchester has been helping collectors find just the right thing since 2008. With 40 quality dealers and a constantly changing inventory of collectibles from the 1800s to the present, they have many unique items in the store and new things coming in daily. Are you looking for the perfect lamp or clock to finish your collection? A vintage lunchbox from your childhood? Well, you can find that plus any number of other unique items in their huge building. With their easy access off I-24, they meet many travelers from around the world and just around the corner that come to buy and sell antiques, or just to stop and have a free cup of coffee and a cookie while browsing around the store. Come visit owner Madeline Kemp and travel back in time at Madeline's Antiques and Uniques. So many memories.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
Well, one of the producers said if we keep it up, we're going to be doing beer for a whole hour, and you said we only got one more
No,
paragraph.
we're getting close. I was going, we were talking about how the breweries made it through Prohibition. I had a little bit on that. Prohibition ended December the 5th, 1933, and some of the breweries remained in business during Prohibition by producing other products, like we was talking about, such as colas, mineral water. Pabst, Miller, and Schlitz focused on using their malted grains as an extract for malted flavored dairy drinks or baked goods like breads, tea biscuits and treats. There are many consumers bought the malted grains to illegally make their own homebrew as a way to get around the alcohol ban. And Anheuser-Busch, they began making ice cream because they already owned the refrigerated trucks, and they reused them for transporting their ice cream. And Adolf
One makes
Coors,
water also.
Oh yeah, they still
Like
sell water
like
now.
canned water. I've seen
A
that.
lot of your
Yeah,
water
for
comes from the
disasters and stuff,
breweries.
you see.
Right.
Adolf Coors Glass Works originally produced bottles for Coors beer, and they also had a pottery and a ceramic division, so they
They got by that
expanded
way.
their non-beer division during Prohibition. The national Prohibition ended on December 5th, 1933, like I said, and of course it enabled the breweries to focus on making beer again.
Okay, we got one more story about beer, then we're going to get off of it. I mean, we've talked a
real
lot about
interesting
advertisement, but the facts is that those advertisements have brought large prices on some of that stuff. And Philip's got a story here real quick, and then we're going to get on to the next thing, which is Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. We're going to talk about Coca-Cola advertising.
I Googled Clipper Pale Beer can and came up with a story from 2003 where a lady had found a can of Clipper Pale Beer in her in a wall when they were remodeling the house. And so she thought that she would put it on eBay just to see if she could get a couple of dollars for it. She was hoping $5 when she started, and then she did a little research and found a similar item going for $800. So that got her a little excited, and she posted it online, and the next morning her friend called her to tell her, have you looked at your listing today? And she said, no, and she was like, it's already up to $1,000. And there was a fierce bidding war up to $15,000, and then it dropped off to just a couple of people. And the final price was $19,000 for a can of beer because it had been hidden in a wall. It was in immaculate condition.
It has to be. It's been protected.
Now, why would anybody hide a can of empty beer in a...
Maybe he wasn't supposed to be drinking beer while he was building the house.
That's what I was going to say. Somebody drinking on the job.
Well, it was a 1941 can.
Oh, okay.
And
Somebody drinking on the job.
Yeah, and they said that she was worried that the buyer would be upset that it wasn't as good as what she or what they expected it to be. And she said the buyer was ecstatic that he needed it to finish his collection, and he even sends her Christmas baskets every year.
That made his six-pack.
So there you are. So you never know what you can get $19,000 for on eBay.
It's always worth trying and seeing.
All right, let's get started on this Coca-Cola advertisement.
All right.
And by the way, just before you get started on that, you know when the very first ad came out for Coca-Cola?
No,
It was a newspaper ad, and it was 1896.
Good Lord, that's a long
With
time
that,
ago.
At the break, I'll play a couple old radio commercials from them, too. The first radio commercial for Coke.
well, you want to play it now?
I'm still trying to find it.
But you know it's there.
Right.
All right, let's.
Okay, as we all know, Coca-Cola is the king of all soda pop brands and one of the most collected because of its abundance of antique advertising memorabilia. Early and rare pieces have set record-breaking prices in the collecting world. In 1891, Coca-Cola began producing at least a calendar a year, often created by famous artists such as Norman Rockwell and Hayden Sundblom. 10 serving trays and tip trays with beautiful color artworks. They were also produced in a wide variety and proved to be one of the most long-lasting advertising specialty items ever. While Coca-Cola is the leader of old-time soda advertisers, other companies with collectible interest are Pepsi-Cola, Vess, Whistle, Smile, 7-Up, Howdy, Royal Crown, Canada Dry, Kirst, Hires, Dr. Pepper. The list goes on and on and on. Needed to say, there's a bunch of soda companies.
Okay.
Soda companies.
With that, Ronnie, here's a Coca-Cola piece, 1905. It's a sign.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Lillian Nordica. $14,500 with 30 bids.
That was about 14 years after they started, something like that.
And here's a 16 Coca-Cola collection amber bottles, 1905 to 1916. Just the bottle, even the bottle is an ad.
Right. Now, the ambers.
$3,500.
The ambers, are they rare? They're more rare
Yes.
because you don't see as many.
Here's
of them.
one, looks like it is, World War II. You could tell that. It's a lady that's in a uniform, got a baby in her arms, in a stroller, and it's Coca-Cola. 27 bids, $3,500. Here's a Coca-Cola policeman, and you used to see these in the 60s when I was growing up at school zones.
There's one of them up the Jiffy Burger.
$3,115. And then here's another one. Here's a poster, and it's more military one, still World War II stuff, $3,500. Here's one of two girls on the beach, in a bathing suit, just getting sun. It looks like 19 bids, $2,750. So that's some of the early Coca-Cola. I'm going to try to find some. You mentioned calendars. I'm going to see if I can find some, so you keep it going.
Yeah, I bet they'd be hard to find. But there's probably some on there. Antique advertising soda collectibles include soda bottles, syrup dispensers, signs, trays, clocks, thermometers, door pushes, glasses, coolers, crates, menu boards, radios, openers, postcards, and there's much more. But the rare memorabilia from popular brands and companies that made soda for a short time, they can generate the most value.
Yeah, because they're more
Companies-
rare.
Right, they weren't in business as long.
Hey, you was talking about Coca-Cola calendars? Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a 1901. When did you say they first started making them? The calendars?
Well, I said that they went in business in 1891.
But when did they start making? Yeah, I think you mentioned
And
it
then-
like 1900.
And then they started, producing them right after they
Yeah, okay.
went in business.
Here's a 1901. And of course, it's got a lady on it. Most of the calendars and trays do have ladies on
Right.
it. They pretty women, and I guess that helps the sale of the tray,
yeah.
as far as collection value. But here's $900 and 28 bits for a calendar
And the
now.
artist,
Yes, oh yeah.
makes a big difference.
Here's a 1914, 14 bits. It's a lady dressed in pink with a bonnet on. $450.
That's a good looking calendar.
Here's a 1931. These are all live auction. So usually at a live auction, they can bring a little less sometimes than the other auction. Here's 1937 bids. It's another lady in a swimsuit. $275.
Depends on who's big.
Here's a 1928. It's a pin up full calendar pad. That means it's got all the months in it.
Right, and they're harder to find.
Yes, 263.85 with 12 bids. And I'm gonna give you one more, and this same lady that's on this calendar, they used her also in a Coca-Cola tray, and this is 1938, and it brought $204.52. With that, we'll rock back to you.
Okay. Now, signs. We're going to talk about signs are the best form of advertising for soda companies from the late 1930s through the 50s. Now, most signs were placed inside or outside of the neighborhood grocery stores and by the roadsides to help promote a particular brand. Soda signs were also put on soda coolers and menu boards and the company's trucks, and they were made out of different materials like porcelain or enamel, tin, cardboard, wood, and glass mounted on wood. Many of the original classic signs claimed their soda was good for your health. Or, they had unique slogans such as Enjoy Vess, Billion Bubble Beverages, or Bevo, the all-year-round soft drink.
Ronnie, you can actually track when a Coca-Cola sign was made by its slogans.
But exactly, huh?
Here's
That's
a
why I
fishtail.
included some of those.
Here's a fishtail Coca-Cola sign that says gas and oil. Now I have this sign, but it don't say gas and oil. It has hot dog and something else on the other side. Same sign, but just difference. And this one here is 96 inches long, and it brought $1,580 with 32 bids. Now, here is another one. It's a tin sign. It's 1940s, and it's a really nice dressed couple, lady and a man with a Coke bottle, and it brought $900 with 21 bids. Hey, which I like. Here's some Coca-Cola buttons. And it's
right.
just a round.
You used to see them on
This
all
one
the old
says drink
stores in their
Coca-Cola in
gables.
bottles. They don't have the bottle on it. They made them in different versions, from a 12-inch all the way up to 48 inches. And this 48-inch one here is it's got damage and stuff on it. Now it's not a really slick button. It brought $765.
Those old buttons are getting
Here
harder
is a
and harder to
nice
find.
48. It just says Coca-Cola. They had different slogans on all of them.
Right.
And this is a porcelain button. It brought $850. Here's a neat little thing. It's a Coca-Cola advertisement clock. And this one says, lunch with us. And it says drink Coca-Cola, and then on the left-hand side of that drink Coca-Cola, it's got the clock. So you know what time it is, and it brought $650. Here's a unique thing. Everybody knows at the old country stores, you had a door push.
Right.
Open and
Now
close
those
it.
door pushes
Yeah.
are
All right, here's
real
one.
popular
This is the
collectibles.
pusher, and it says drink Coca-Cola. It brought $667. Now, we're talking about a door push. It went
Yeah.
on a screen door.
Just to get in, just
Yeah.
put something.
Here's another one, brought $595. So that's some of the examples of some of the advertisement signs. We got 2 minutes here for you to. Then we'll take another break.
Well,
Signs and even on the radio advertisement. I remember when I was a child, Royal Crown Cola come out.
Yeah.
Little jingle about get that refreshing new feeling. I never
Yeah.
forget. I run almost a mile to the store.
I had to get the refreshing new
After I
feeling.
drank that thing, I didn't feel a bit different.
You didn't feel no
It
refresh.
irritated me.
Well, yeah, I think it done its job though, didn't it? It sent you to the store
Sent me to the store
with a
back.
nickel.
Well,
That's probably what it
you know,
costs.
Slogans,
Nickel, that's
you know,
right.
they're a real important part of advertising even today, you know. Soda trays, they're another form of advertising, and they were used to serve soft drinks at soda fountains and diners and neighborhood centers. But most soda trays were circular, rectangular, or oval, and they were usually around 10 to 14 inches. Okay, all the trays had a curled edge for the intent of, you know, keeping the sodas from spilling off the tray. And the trays depicted colorful images of the soda company's logo and product, and other artwork such as buildings, women, and fashion and animals. The
Hey,
process.
with that, let's take a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, I'll give you some prices on some of those soda trays.
Yeah.
Madeline's Antiques and Uniques at 6107 Murfreesboro Road in Manchester has been helping collectors find just the right thing since 2008. With 40 quality dealers and a constantly changing inventory of collectibles from the 1800s to the present, they have many unique items in the store and new things coming in daily. Are you looking for the perfect lamp or clock to finish your collection? A vintage lunchbox from your childhood? Well, you can find that plus any number of other unique items in their huge building. With their easy access off I-24, they meet many travelers from around the world and just around the corner that come to buy and sell antiques, or just to stop and have a free cup of coffee and a cookie while browsing around the store. Come visit owner Madeline Kemp and travel back in time at Madeline's Antiques and Uniques. So many memories.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
My name's John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
All right, we're back,
That's
and
good, boy.
wasn't that good?
That's
Things
great.
always go
Yes,
better
Well,
with
sir.
Coke.
you can see why they sell a lot of Coke.
That's right.
Yeah. You've got some Coke trays for us?
Yeah, one thing about Coca-Cola, before I read these trays, that they learned early into their business was that they spend a big percentage of their money in advertising. Yes.
That's what's made them the
Okay, here we
company they
go.
are
You're talking
today.
about trays. Here's a 1901. Now, this is a little tip tray like you was talking about.
Yeah,
Probably about
I was gonna
4
hit on
inches
them
or
later.
so, but it's got a little gal on it. $1,900 with 15 bids. Here's a 1912 Coca-Cola tray, $698.52. 1907, $650. Now here's a unique tray. Everybody knows who Tarzan is.
Yes.
Tarzan and Jane. Well, this is Johnny Weisenmuller and Maureen O'Sullivan.
Right.
Not O'Hara,
Not
like I
O'Hara.
said one time before.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a picture of them two in their swimsuits,
Right.
and they're looking at each other holding a bottle of Coke. $600 with 20 bids. Now, I remember, though, when that tray would bring 12 or 1,500. Trays are down a little bit.
Yeah.
Here's a 1927. It's called Soda Jerk. It's a like a car hop waiting on a car, and it brought $525.
You know, it's really a good time to be buying trays while they're down.
Here's a
Well,
30. Yeah.
Did it have that tray with the thing that where it would balance on the
Yes.
car?
Right.
Here is a 1933 advertising tray, $475. 1912, $450. 1925. This is a lady holding a glass of Coke, $415. 24 bids. Here's another lady on a 1929 tray, $400. Now here's a kind of unique one. It's a little boy, and who did you say a while ago that done a lot of the advertisement, done the artwork?
I said that Norman Rockwell.
Yeah, this is a Norman Rockwell picture. It's a little boy with a dog, a fishing pole, and a sandwich and a Coke. He's sitting on a bank fishing. $410.
Norman Rockwells were real popular.
Yeah. And here's a 1942. This is World War II. It's a girl sitting in a car and a girl standing beside a car, and they're both holding Cokes, and they're talking. $345. So there you are. That's some examples
you can really
of
buy
the Coca-Cola
Coca-Cola trays right now.
Yeah, they're down compared to what they used
Just
to
like
bring.
say, I'd rather have it than some stock, you know.
Yeah.
You buy your stock low.
Yeah,
and
right now is a good time to
sell
say
it
that
high.
too, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we were talking about the trays, the process of printing on trays. You know, it evolved over the years. Initially, it was very involved. They had up to 20 separate press runs being used to produce all the colors and tones. And then later, a more efficient process of lithography was implemented, enabling less color plates and drying time. Okay, the smaller tip trays, they were 3 to 4 inches in diameter. They were not large enough to serve soda or other beverages. Like we said earlier about the beer tip trays, they were intended to return the customer's change or to be used for patrons' tips for the servers. They also became useful as coasters or ashtrays. Now, soda tip trays are not as commonly found as the brewery tip trays. However, both the soda serving trays and tip trays, they proved to be a great form of advertising, and they're highly coveted collectibles today. Okay, and I don't know, we're going to talk about soda bottles and soda carriers. We got time to get into that?
About 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, I think we can cover a little bit of that. Okay, relic soda bottles, they're in high demand to collectors, and rare ones, you know, they can bring thousands of dollars. Soft drinks were first commercially bottled in the United States in the 1830s. And soda bottles were made in many sizes and shapes and colors and textures. Some soda pop bottles, they had straight forms, and others were created with contour like a torpedo or curvy like Coca-Cola's, the hobble skirt design. In the early 1900s, most of the soft drinks had embossments on the bottles to show the manufacturer's name in the city. The soda bottles also had other engravings or logos to differentiate their brand. The earliest of soda bottles were hand-blown glass made by craftsmen skilled in bottle making. Initially, the glass bottles were made with colors of brown, blue, or green because it was less expensive to produce. Now, eventually, the soda bottles were primarily made with clear glass. Soda bottles differed by the style of the lip of the bottle and its base from 1830 to 1870. Adding an extra piece of hot glass to the top after the bottle was out of the mold. That's how they created the lips of the bottles. After 1870, a lipping tool assisted in making a more precise lip and also formed light rows of ring markings that are still evident on the top of these bottles today. The bases of the bottles, they also vary, and they can help predict its age. The early bottles before 1860 can display a pontil mark that shows a rough area on the base or an open pontiff that created a concave formation on the bottom of them. The mark was created when an iron rod broke while we was used to keep the hot soda bottle in place, and the lip was still being molded. When looking at the bottle with a pontil, the residue from the iron punny rod can still be seen. That's how you can tell them. Earlier bottles, they also had porcelain stoppers held by a wire bail. And eventually, you know, the tops evolved into crown tops with metal bottle caps, and because they were easier to produce.
I tell you what, Ronnie, with that, well, I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and we're going to have to get out of here.
All right.
Here is a Coca-Cola bottle with a paper label. It brought $1,600. Here's another bottle, a Coke bottle, and it don't look like Coke bottles like you think today. This is some of the bottles you're talking about.
Right, now those are the
like
rarer.
it almost looks like an old medicine bottle. And this bottle brought $899.95. Let me see here if I can find you a few more. Here's a 1915 Fort Wayne, $749. And let's see here. Let me get one or two more, and we're going to get out of here.
I can remember seeing some of those necks that would be chipped, and they'd have to take them back because they had chips in them. People couldn't drink them.
Oh, yeah.
And for fear that when they pulled the top
They would
off,
get
it
the
broke
glass.
the glass.
Yeah, I was studying how they was made.
Here's
how they made
here's
them.
an amber. You was talking about amber a while ago. Here's a Chattanooga, Tennessee amber bottle
That'd be a good man.
with the curved arrow. It's got a Coca-Cola on it. It's got a curved arrow. It brought $295. And let's see. All right, I'd say, Ronnie, maybe I can find us one more here, and then we're going to have to get out of here. Here's a unique one.
There's so many.
Here's a Coca-Cola Crystal bottle, Kiss limited edition.
Oh.
Evidently, Kiss, the band,
Yes,
had a bottle made for them. It was
What about that?
$232.50 and 6 bids. With that, we're going to get out of here.
All right.
I wouldn't put my lips near them.